And I'll even tell you, I'm going to drop one more thing. I've been waiting to say this publicly, and this is what really happened. I will tell you, if you hear this and you give me 90 seconds, your viewers will understand what's happened in the last 5 years in America. I've been waiting to say this on mainstream TV, and they will not have me back because once they understood what this was about. I had Hillary Clinton, I caused Hillary Clinton, I facilitated a bribe, and she took a second bribe for $18 million. And I worked with the FBI as I did that. They're deeply involved in this. They came to me 3 days later and told me I had to forget about it and forget that it ever happened. And I said, what are you talking about? And they gave me one excuse. They said, Hillary's going to win, and it's been decided upstairs. Nothing's going to be able to stop that now. So she's going to win, and she's going to send her people over to the FBI and ask who was part of investigating Hillary, and any of us who were part of it are going to be destroyed, and that includes you too, Patrick. And so this mission has been scrubbed from the highest level. And I thought about that, and I said, yes, sir, and I came, but 2 or 3 weeks later, I was back with 3 federal agents this time. 3 federal agents, and I let them know that wasn't sitting, and this is in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that wasn't sitting well with me, and I'd like to know why we had almost a year before the election. They could have had me and another person in front of a grand jury in a week and gotten her indicted. And this is the key to understanding what's happened in America. They told me, this is word for word, Patrick, what's really going on is this. President Obama has his people across the federal bureaucracy at this point, but especially the Department of Justice. Hillary Clinton is going to be president for 8 years, and nothing's going to change that. But think of there being a Bunsen burner within the Department of Justice. That evidence about the 2 bribes you were part of gathering is going to be sitting on the Bunsen burner. And the hand on the Bunsen burner is going to be one of Barack Obama's people. If Hillary's a good girl and defends Obamacare, that flame stays low. If she's a bad girl and thinks for herself, it's going to get turned up high. That way, Barack Obama is going to manage Hillary Clinton for the 8 years she's president, and then she's going to step down, and Michelle's going to run. And Patrick, that's the plan. That came out of the lips of a federal agent. It was confirmed to me this spring. The Durham investigation that plan was called the Operation Snow Globe. That was Brendan Obama's name for it. Snow Globe, they were trying to get Hillary to step into a snow globe. I'm looking for a prop. A snow globe that anytime they wanted, they could then pick up and shake for 8 years. My bribe was the bait to get her to step into the snow globe. That's all from it. This isn't a theory. I'm the guy in the room. I'm acknowledging I took part in all this, and I thought I was helping them conduct federal law enforcement. It turned out that I was helping them set up Hillary Clinton for a deep state to control her. And that's why, and I came in public a year ago with some pictures that showed me with this Russian redhead, Maria Butina, lovely woman, that said, and so I'm saying this entire thing, this last 5 years, has been a coup. It was from Obama against Hillary, that when Trump won in a fluke, it got morphed into the Russian collusion delusion. And I say that as the guy they had romancing Maria and bribing Hillary Clinton. So I'm about as involved in this as you can get, and I promise you that's exactly what happened.
And welcome back. I am Ann Vandersteel, and we have an incredible edition of Steel Truth tonight. We're going long, long, and very long because we have an amazing guest. Patrick Byrne, the former CEO of Overstock, is with us this evening, dropping some serious bombshells and actually also teasing that not only does he have additional bombs, but Moabs coming forward, things he knows about in the Durham report that, one of them he did drop on the show about Hillary Clinton taking an $18 million bribe on top of a $20 million bribe she took from Turkey. Patrick Byrne, great to have you in Steel Truth this evening. The audience is on fire. Tor just called me. Millie Weaver and Tor are in chat right now, just in a YouTube chat, and they are excited. I think Tor said she would have bitch slapped those people from what I'm reading in the actual chat, which is incredible. So
I think that they know how much I know, and they don't want any attention brought to me. So, for example, as I've revealed before, I bribed Hillary Clinton $18 million I caused Hillary Clinton to be offered and take a bribe in mid-July of 2016 by the FBI. The FBI had me facilitate a bribe for Hillary Clinton, which I accomplished. They also told me she had already taken one bribe for 20 million, and I got an $18 million bribe in her face, and she took it. And I've been shown the bank records that show that she took it. So they don't want any attention being brought to me. That's probably why they omitted my name when they leaked the story. I'll tell you a bombshell. Something has come in tonight. I'm only going to tell you a piece of it. Something has been finalized. Well, so many things have. First, people have to understand this is like a snake eating an elephant, and the elephant is working through the digestive system, and what the public is seeing is what's coming out the back end of the snake. We have so much information. There's so much information and affidavits and everything we have acquired over the last 5 weeks, but it's always sort of the lawyers are about 1 or 2 weeks behind our digestion and turning it into documents and turning it into filings. So what you see when you read the filings from Sidney Powell and such is really our state of knowledge. At this point, it's our state of knowledge about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And even there, her filings with the Supreme Court, like the one on Michigan, contain all kinds of very damning affidavits and information. But at this point, we're 3 weeks ahead of what's in there. Here's one key thing. I'm not going to tell you the state or much details about this, but I can tell you a Microsoft certified security guy has given us the photographs and the hard documentary evidence of a Dominion vote counting machine, tabulation machine in a swing state that has a, I mean, we have the photographs, everything, has a wireless card inside it, and the forensics show that it connected to a wireless network in the thermostat. In the thermostat of the room, there was a wireless network that connected into this machine, and when we trace back the IP, from which it was accessed on election night and during the vote tabulation over the next 24 hours, there was access through a thermostat wireless into the wireless card on the vote counting machine, and the IPs reveal, when you track them back and strip away the noise, it was somebody in a city in China. And the city, in fact, the actual address of that IP is connected to a company, is the address of a corporation in China whose name has already come up in relation to some dirty dealings with some politicians of that state in America. So now, and this is by no means, we already have had, I should bring it, it's in the next room. I got a binder this thick of, I'm sorry, Sydney? Anyway, I was going to have this binder brought in. I've got a binder this thick of hard documentary evidence of foreign access and involvement on this equipment. As a matter of fact, people are forgetting this. On November 3rd and on October 30th, the FBI, and I think it was CISA, DHS, put out a statement saying that Iran is illegally has interjected itself into our election equipment. They were saying that 3 days before the election, and on the day of the election, they put out special warnings that Iran was electronically coming in and interfering in our election. Everyone seems to forget that. You know, the proof, right. What's the proof? One aspect of the proof is the FBI itself published this on November 3rd, that it was happening that day, or else one of them published it. So there is no question, but we have so many examples of this. Here's the binder we have. Oh, thank you so much. Here's a binder we have. Well, this is here's the Iranian Advanced Persistent Threat. You should have your viewers Google this. Iranian Advanced Persistent Threat Actor identified. This is coming from the CISA group and the DHS, and it is dated October 30th. And there's more from the FBI on November 3rd itself. If I may be screwing up a date, or maybe the FBI was a couple days before. But the point is, this whole binder is filled with both public documentation as well as private affidavits that document this up the wazoo. This entire binder only concerns foreign involvement in our computers, in our voting systems during this election. This entire binder, and some of them are affidavits and some of them are government statements that were coming out on the day of the election that this is in fact happening. So there is no question when the mainstream media says, "Where's the evidence?" Tell them to go argue with the FBI. Tell them to go argue with the CISA, because they're the ones who were saying it. I had a prominent mainstream journalist text me tonight and say, why don't you come on my show? And it will give you more credibility to be on my show. And I texted him back, fella, you're legacy media. You're the one. Don't worry about my credibility. Worry about your own credibility.
God
what do I need
bless
to
you.
do mainstream punk for? It's, they're so clearly in cover-up mode. I have a story. I'm keeping the big bomb. I'm not dropping the big bomb. I've got a bigger bomb and then a mother of all bombs to drop when the time is right. And I'll offer here. I will do it on a live broadcast on a television. I'll even throw this out to this guy says I will not have you on live. You won't have me on live. So I will throw it here, a challenge to any of the major networks. You will win a Pulitzer if you have me on, and I will tell you a big secret. Nobody will do it. Nobody, this cone of silence has come over me. But so now they're reaching out. They want me to come on and but it's always, they always will say live they say live to tape. They will not have me on live, and I'm turning them down. I'm not going to do live to tape because they will edit things to suit their needs. But I will do a live interview with but in the meantime, you know what? The way I feel, who's this guy to tell me my credibility would go up if I was on X and Y, mainstream companies? They're the ones who need to worry about their credibility. Last I checked, something like 18% of America now believe the press.
Hello, besides communism infiltrating our company.
They're motivated by different things. There's really only one patriotic billionaire that I've ever met. And we may disagree on policies here and there, but the only patriotic billionaire I've ever met is a guy named Warren Buffett. Since I was a little kid, I get all verklempt. He was my friend since I was a little kid, before he was Warren Buffett, this mythical figure. Since I was a little kid, he's been teaching me. He's a very patriotic man and loves our country. We disagree about some policies, and your viewers do too. Anyway, there's a huge bombshell coming about a rape and murder. Did I walk you through that on your show?
No.
There's a rape and murder that's going to be revealed someday. There's a rape and murder that is going to be revealed someday. And I can tell you, John Brennan or James Comey signed off on it. After the fact, they didn't know it beforehand. But one of those two people signed off on a person who committed rape and murder so as to keep the guy on the street continuing to. So just so you know, and 3 federal agents were directed by John Brennan and James Comey. I don't know which one signed the piece of paper. They signed off on a rape and murder so that a guy could continue to do something they needed done. So that's also going to be revealed soon enough. Just so you know,
it surprises me.
Well,
I'm saddened by this. I'm truly saddened by this. So let's sort of get this pulled back together a little bit. So right now, President Trump has verbally given Sidney Powell the go-ahead to be special counsel investigating the voter fraud, the election fraud, correct?
He verbally did it. He verbally made his decision. And when Sidney Powell tried to act, they have pulled the rug out they have refused to execute the president's order that Mike Flynn and Patrick Byrne and Sidney Powell and one other lawyer saw him deliver. Done. His own staff refused to execute it, and they have put a lead shield around him. I'll give you an example. There's really 2 enormous things that are just ironclad, and yeah, we have gotten to the very bottom. We have of a whole bunch of mischief in 4 states. I mean, how the ballots were done, how illegal ballots were printed, where they went, who did what. We've got affidavits, text messages, everything you need. There's no point in killing anyone now because for the bad guys to kill anyone, because we got it all. So it's really just a matter of what we are allowed to present in the court systems. And be aware, these guys who say, oh, Sidney filed 50 cases and all that. That's nonsense. The cases, essentially nothing has had any judge actually look at it, any evidence. All kinds of citizens and parties around the country immediately after the election filed lawsuits that local judges threw out on the grounds that they didn't have standing and it's all sort of Philadelphia lawyer stuff. It had nothing to do with the substance. And the truth is they didn't have the evidence at that point. My cyber colleagues were in the background developing this mountain of evidence, but that's really only begun to show up. And it started showing up in Sidney Powell's lawsuit. It showed up in a Michigan courtroom in the Antrim matter. And it's not, so it's in those lawsuits in the Supreme Court, but even what's in those lawsuits is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming. And in particular, we have it absolutely dead to right, reverse engineered what happened with some printing of fake ballots. And well, I shouldn't go any farther than that, but we have, regarding 4 states, we have ironclad, soup to nuts, every step of the process, who did what, where, when, and it's all locked up. And we have others. We have another story that's reminiscent of what you just described. We have all the data on that too. So this is open and shut. It's when the evidence finally gets presented, is able to be presented in court, it's a no-brainer. Good on you, Red State Radio. And this is how markets work. If they're going to have a monopoly, if the mainstream is going to try to be a monopoly and impose a blackout, I feel like I'm living in the Soviet Union with the blackout they're trying to impose on the truth. That just creates this wonderful opportunity for alternative media, and good for Red State Radio to be willing to cover this. And so I'm endorsing you and Vandersteel and the Steel Truth, and I'm endorsing Red State Talk Radio. Good for you. I see
Huge.
the next Fox in the making. The next, that you're going to be big if the mainstream sticks. And you know what? Fox, having lost half its viewership, they're not going to get it back. When we get through this, and we will get through this, and Fox was on the wrong side, they have no principles. They're going to come back. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some do. Maria Bartiromo does. Martha McCallum and Tucker Carlson. And Lou Dobbs has been good. So some of them have been good, but they're going to come. The rest are going to try to come back, and their audience is not going to be there. It's going to stick to the Newsmax, the One America News, the Steel Truth. So congratulations. I love watching this process play out.
It's exciting to be a part of the process. It's been a long, hard-fought battle for all the folks that do what we do, but we love it. We wouldn't do it if we didn't. That's the whole point. We love our country and we love the truth. I'm going to pick a question right out here from Louis Sipes, who says, what did Patrick think about Acting Secretary of Defense Miller thanking Pence for being a mentor and his comment about the most complex military operations in history? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have thoughts. That's a new quote to me, so I shouldn't opine without knowing the context and such. But I can tell you that I think Chris Miller, of whom we speak, the Acting Secretary of Defense, is quite a fine man. He's from the Special Operations community. I will use this opportunity to tell people, you want to trust the U.S. Marines. The military in general is well regarded and great. The U.S. Marines and the Special Operation community, especially the Green Berets. The Green Berets. There's a story told that JFK in 1962 visited Fort Bragg, and he allowed, until then, the Green Berets, they weren't allowed to use their Green Beret. It was a hidden thing. Only then did they were called Special Forces only, and the Green Beret was almost like a slang term or something. Only then did Kennedy authorize them to use the Green Beret. And there's a story that it was told, and old Green Berets always seem to always know this story, that he took the command master sergeant aside, the senior enlisted Green Beret at the time, and he said, he gave him a message for that man to pass to the senior enlisted of every A team in perpetuity. And the message was, have your plan ready for the day the federal government goes rogue, because when it does, it will be this community that restores the Constitution. So I trust them. I've had some SEAL friends. We all love the SEALs. The SEALs we admire, and they're wonderful people. But they don't, in my mind, I respectfully say I do not have the same feelings about them that I do of the Green Beret. The Green Berets have that Constitution is sort of woven into their DNA in a way it is not in the SEAL community. As much as, of course, I tremendously respect the SEALs, the Green Beret community and the Marines if it comes to it, those are the military communities above all else that you need to trust.
It's funny. I was just, as you're talking, the phone call that we had with Ivan Raikin, he was a Green Beret, and we fonted him as such, so we made sure we captured it and recognized the fact that he has served, and that's a gentleman who's bringing forth this Pence card option, which goes to your point. They are constitutionally grounded. Okay, next question from John McLeod wants to know, what date does Patrick expect this to come to conclusion? January 6th, January 20th, somewhere in between?
I expect it to come to conclusion January 6th because I think the American people, the citizens, are going to put the politicians, compromised and not, in the position that they have no choice but to do the right thing. But you, viewers, have your duty there too. It's time, your grandfathers waded ashore at Normandy. You can get your butt off the couch on January 6th. And I really think January 4th. We want to start, and we want to start not raising holy hell, but we want to make our presence known. And if the goons want to show up, the goons, the latte boys who've been running around for 6 months, harassing innocent people and pushing people around and such, if they want to show up, be prepared, because that's going to be when they show up, and they're going to bring the heat. Be prepared to defend yourself. But this is all going to come down to the January 4th, 5th, and 6th. And by then, if we do our job as citizens, it will all be over then. And the politicians will do their constitutional duty.
So no Insurrection Act, anything like that coming this way?
Look, there's under no circumstance can we accept a fraudulent election. Under no circumstance. That's all I'm going to say. Under no circumstance will I go along with a fraudulent election. And no one should. We never get our country back if that happens.
I think that's fair enough. Okay, I'm looking for any more questions here for Patrick. Let's see. A lot of positive comments. People want to know about. Of course, people want to understand if there's a Q plan in here. Let's see here. How serious is a problem is the fact that the president is being cut off?
It's a huge problem.
I mean,
it's a huge problem. Maybe the American people can break through it. I'm telling you, ask Mike Lindell if you get him on. I've heard today, I don't know Mr. Lindell, great respect. He's the American dream, and a guy who came through what he came through, and he's done what he's done. He's the kind of guy who built America. But I have understood through the grapevine that even today, he's getting cut off, and everyone like him is getting cut off. They are isolating President Trump so as to avoid letting him hear the truth, even about all kinds of things that are being turned up every hour practically in these investigations. They have cut off the President of the United States, and it's being done by Pat Cipollone and Mark Meadows. So maybe you ought to give them a piece of your mind. But get through to the president, get through to him on Twitter, let him know that he knows he's being cut off. And he can't, here's another thing I saw in President Trump. He's a tired man. He's a wonderful man. He's energetic and such, but he's tired. This is, he's only, there's a human part to him that this would be tough on anyone. But I think he knows, I think that, there's got to be a piece of him who would love to leave and go play golf and be done with this horseshit. He knows he can't. He has a duty not to. It's not about him. It's about the American Republic. And so I think he's pretty tired. So why don't you do what you can to lift his spirits?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, again, that's why he does the rallies. He feeds off the energy from the love of the people. And he loves to hear, we love you, because we do. We do love him. We love the fact that he's standing up and representing us, we the people. He promised to return the power to the people. And now he has. We are now, it's incumbent upon us, Patrick, our civic duty as American citizens that have benefited from this country to do what we need to do in order to support him and help him. And it's people like yourself and Ivan and all the people that are watching, that are out either calling their governors, calling their senators, calling their congressmen, saying, stand up and don't certify this election on January 6th. You cannot accept the current slate of electors. They need to be swapped out. I have a gentleman here, Richard Lehman, by the way. I had the chance to speak to him yesterday on the phone. He actually called, which was a pleasant surprise. Patrick, he wants to know, this is an interesting question. Gina Haspel, is she being held in Guantanamo Bay? There's been all these stories about that firefight in Germany and the Seidel servers, and that potentially she ended up there. Can you address that at all?
I don't have any independent information on that, and I hope she's not injured. Look, I hope nobody gets killed. I hope the other side backs down once they understand that we aren't going to let our country be taken over by goons. And I did hear that she, we've all heard this rumor she got killed or wounded in a firefight and things like that. I'd find that hard to believe. But anyway, at this point, who the heck knows? Uh, she's a friend of a friend, and I feel like I don't will wish ill will on her. So, and let's not forget we need an intelligence service. We need an intelligence service, and I had uh, I'm sure there are a lot of great patriotic Americans over at the CIA, and I know there's a lot of great patriotic Americans at the FBI, with whom I worked on going after Wall Street criminals. What's happened is it really is not. I should mention in closing on this point, it's not a distinction of the brass versus the soldiers when it comes to these agencies. It's a measure of at the soldier level, at the agent level, they're all good Americans, get out of college, want to get in and contribute to their country. The farther you work up, the higher the concentration of swamp creatures. And by the time you get to the top, you're getting a high concentration, but it's not a total concentration of swamp creatures. And someone put it to me that it's just different factions of deep state, but it's all deep state. It's not all deep state at the top. But anyway, the point isn't that it's the brass. The point is the people who got there through political appointments have, over the last 30 or 40 years, found a way to burrow into the agencies. And there used to be a big taboo against, you have people rise up and they become brass. And of course, we have political commissars that get this is how every government behaves. You put political ponies over the top of the brass to make sure the agency stays in line with the will of the guy who got elected by the people. But what's happened up until 40 years ago, there was a real taboo against going from a position like that to taking a job down in the bureaucracy. That taboo broke about 30 or 40 years ago, and our government at the top level has gotten stuffed in these agencies with political appointees who turned into civil servants. And once they're a civil servant, they got all the union protections, they can't be fired, and so they're political activists from both parties. This is the swamp. Mm-hmm. The political activists from both parties who got put in as political guys and then burrow down into the bureaucracy. And it's Republicans and Democrats have done it, and that's who we have to get out of government. And they're
that's not exactly that, right.
In fact, I've been a libertarian. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought as a libertarian.
As a libertarian, you'd think, and I thought I was supposed to dislike these people and think that they're mediocre and such. They're not. I've had more than my share of interaction over the years. Some of them on hostile, and some of them not. But they're much more talented. They're people who could leave and be in the private sector and do just fine. They're, when I meet a secretary who works in such and such a department, I'm always thinking, gee, how would this person be in the private sector? He or she would always be sort of in the top 5 or 10%. They're very solid people. And so it isn't that they're not incapable. The problem is these political flunkies have gotten in and burrowed down into the organization. And so instead of being a great FBI agent and working your way up, or a great, military officer or something, there are now people over them who, over the last generation, are weenies. I mean, they're political appointees who burrowed in, and suddenly have some 33-year-old, graduate from Brown and with gender studies degree is suddenly in a unit where he's giving orders to Navy SEALs or something, and that's not how it should work.
No, it's not. And Patrick, the world is watching the United States of America. I'm sure you have. I fielded phone calls. General Flynn told me he's getting calls from all over the world about what's happening. A gentleman called me who wants to do some reporting on organ harvesting in China. That the trafficking and the organ harvesting that goes on over there at horrific rates. If you look at the fact the world cares what happens in this election, and you bring it down to a microcosm of spending, Millie Weaver, who's actually in chat right now, Millennial Millie. Hi, Millie, we love you. She took the Patrick Berge story that I broke in 2018, and she blew it up, and it was an incredible series, the Shadowgate series. If anybody hasn't seen it, go and watch it. She went to jail to get this story out there. She's a true patriot. She wants to know, Patrick, she's a true patriot. She wants to know, what is your take on the National Defense Authorization Act? She says a lot of money seems to be delegated for the military-industrial complex and foreign countries.
Well, first, I do want to say that Patrick Berge's story, I believe, is true. And I think that we have created instruments to use overseas that are now being turned back against us by, in some cases, pardon me, some of the same people. General McChrystal, whom I have met, and I thought he was a fine guy, but it's absolutely inappropriate that that stuff is being used. I mean, that was built so we can help foster democracy and build democracy, not so elites can conduct psyops against our own people.
You mean
as
General
far
Jones?
as
You're talking about General Jones? General Jones, not General
no,
McChrystal. General Jones, right.
I think McChrystal's part of it. I think he's now part of one of these
General
companies.
Hayden, General Jones. This is Tor coming in right now, and she would definitely know. She's a friend of yours. Tor says General Jones, which is accurate. It's General Jones and General Hayden.
And I thought
McChrystal probably knows about it, but she says Admiral
Anyway,
Harris. Oh my God, John McRaven.
Hayden's a bad guy. Clapper's a dope. But Hayden's a bad guy, and Brennan is a bad guy. Yeah. So other than that, I don't know about what's in the new National Defense Authorization Act. And I should not opine.
Okay, we just have another one of my favorites come in here. Brian Connell, he's a moderator, but he's also a victim of Fast and Furious. And I think I mentioned to you that I'd done a lot of investigative work on Fast and Furious victims that did time because they were scapegoated out by the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, to traffic these weapons across to the south of the border. And my victims never did any such thing. But as you know, Operation Fast and Furious had these gun runners come and buy weapons from some of these gun store owners. Brian Connell, great guy. He graduated college. He went to work for the DOD, top secret clearance. Then it was Border Patrol and ICE. And then he was just selling as a private citizen firearms to friends on the border, defending their American sovereignty. And he was finger pointed and did 5 years of time because they used him as a scapegoat during Operation Fast and Furious. These are the kinds of people the president should be pardoning, in my humble opinion.
People who've been used and set up and so on and so forth. Listen, you're going to find out some things about me someday that I need a pardon because I did anyway. So, even just coming public about some of the things I've come public about, they used me to bribe Hillary Clinton. I'd like to ask you a question. You brought up Fast and Furious. The weapons mentioned, do you know, has it been reported yet where they were manufactured?
Operation Fast and Furious, an Obama administration program that let thousands of assault weapons fall into the hands of violent Mexican drug cartels. Guns found at over 170 crime scenes, including the murder of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. The Obama administration denied the program's existence and withheld information to protect political appointees. The Dallas Morning News calls this a cover-up. Will anyone be held accountable?
Here's a bombshell.
Military
I'm not talking about who moved them. Who manufactured those weapons? They were manufactured in a U.S. government facility. And the name of the man who was in charge of that facility is a name you will recognize. And if I get killed, I will set things up with 10 minutes of getting off this. I will set up a dead man's switch on that information. But I know who oversaw the manufacture. They were manufactured in a U.S. government facility that you will recognize its name. It's one of the big secrets they're trying to keep from coming out. And there have been some payoffs and deals made in order to keep that information from coming out. And the name of the man who oversaw that is the name of a person who oversaw their manufacture and who oversaw that facility is a name you will recognize almost certainly when I tell it to you at some later date. And so that I don't get killed, I'm going to be clear. This is within 10 minutes of getting off this information will be under a dead man switch. So if a meteor happens to fall on my head, it will be released. You were on Red State Radio, so there were millions of people listening, right? Is that fair to say? You want me to drop something that will
drop it?
6 months ago, I was sent a message. Somebody came to see me, and among the things that I was told 8 months ago, so that I would understand what we are up against, is I was told a detail of the crime scene. Oh, I'm getting a message from someone saying, do not reveal this. Sorry, I actually got a message from. I got a message
That's okay.
I just got a message flashed up to me from someone saying, "Do not reveal this," and it's a person who
Okay.
knows.
Okay. I don't want anybody, I don't want you to reveal anything that
Anyway,
could harm an
I'm sorry.
investigation or harm you. That's okay. That's
Even-
okay.
No, I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you. It was from the Epstein death scene. It was a detail that was shared with me, just one little detail of the scene that tells you that was conveyed to me so I would understand what we were up against. And the okay, do you that and the detail of the scene of the crime scene was one that this one detail shows that it was not a suicide. It was in fact a murder. And it's a detail that once you understand it reveals we have to be, this isn't the Gambino family. This isn't the Genovese family. This had the sophistication. Well, I've got to say it now because otherwise they might kill me. But no, literally there was just someone sending me flash message, do not say this. So this is you know how the guards.
Come on, Patrick.
You know how the guards. We know that the guards. Okay, to the person who just sent me that message, send me an explanation. Should I or should I not? If you don't want me to say this, give me 10 words as to why I should not say this. In the meantime, I'm going to give a little bit more color. It was a detail that was meant to communicate to me it was a murder and indicate to me the seriousness of the people behind it. Well, I guess it's too late. It was the Epstein crime scene, and the guards. I was told that the guards, who fell asleep in the
Right.
fell asleep,
Yeah.
and we all
Fell
assumed well, they
asleep.
were bribed. Yeah, we all thought that. Well, guess what? They did fall asleep. Their blood was tested the next morning, and they found traces of nitrous oxide. So what's that tell you, Ann?
Wow.
Nitrous oxide is laughing gas, but doctors use it. Laughing
Right.
gas.
Dentists use it. Dentists use it. Right.
So that tells us that somebody snuck into a federal facility, a canister of laughing gas. They got access to the ventilation system. They snaked a hose to the right room, turned it on, knocked out the guards. Then they knocked out 14 cameras on that floor. Probably there's a goon cop a dirty cop who was in a cell down the block. He was probably the guy who did it. This was not confirmed to me, but he was let in. His door was open. He went and killed Epstein, and then they went back to their cell. And then they retrieved the hose. Someone retrieved the hose and exfilled, took out the canister of laughing gas. Now that tells us something. Does that sound like a Gambino hit, or does that sound like maybe a state level actor?
State level for sure. Absolutely.
Which
Mossad
state?
or
Not Mossad.
Mossad?
Which state? Not
Clintons?
Mossad. Which state?
Arkansas.
How about the deep state?
Well, the deep state, yeah, but the deep state is everywhere. You have deep state in China, you have deep state in Europe. You mean the deep state's a worldwide deep state, but if you're talking about USG deep state, can you be more specific?
Well, that's what I was talking about. That detail was communicated to me back in June, so I would understand what it is I'm up against.
Right.
The deep state in maybe a branch in New York, but the deep state is who did that. I did tell you earlier there's something going on. There's a rape and murder to be revealed,
right,
that was covered up by John Brennan or James Comey, possibly Barack Obama, but that there was somebody signed off on the cover up of a rape and murder. And I will,
is this person,
when I'm through, go see Deep Capture. Go see Deep Capture if you want to know more about that.
okay.
But the information I gave you several big bombs that aren't on Deep Capture. One, that those weapons were for Fast and Furious were manufactured within the U.S. government at a facility I'm not revealing, but the person who ran it, you will know his name, and that'll be under a dead man's switch as soon as I get off this. And secondly, Jeffrey Epstein The guards who were guarding him were knocked out with nitrous oxide.
Send him a message right now. What would you want to say without revealing things that people are telling you don't do? But what would you like to say to him right now that maybe you could get that extra 5 minutes in the Oval with him?
I know a secret that if you understood, I'm sorry I didn't share it with you the other night, sir. I know a secret that if I shared with you, I think would explain your last 4 years in entirety. And I should have taken that opportunity in the hallway to get it out. And it's pretty tough. Anyway, so that's what I would say. You give me another 2 minutes, I'll share a secret with you that will explain your last 4 years to you in a way you don't quite understand yet, sir.
Is this the secret that you've learned in the past several months, or several weeks, I should say, with your elite squad of white hat hackers going into this election fraud, or is it before that? Does it predate all this?
It goes to Barack Obama.
Wow. Okay.
I happen to like Barack Obama, but it's Barack Obama, John Brennan, and James Comey. I know something big. And I should have used that moment in the hallway to get it out to you. I was a little. It's tough. It's tough even make my mouth say some of these things I've told you. But I know a secret that could totally make him understand his last 4 years with clarity.
And thank you so much for joining us again this evening on Steel the Truth. It is a Christmas season. It's a beautiful time of the year to spend with your friends and family, and we hope you enjoy spending it with our family, from our house to yours. Merry Christmas, everybody, and good night.